Mario, you were having a meeting of the Long Range Planning Committee, I guess, today. It really is a meeting regarding crime and fighting crime and the joint effort. You're expecting Chief Crump there, the sheriff there. What's the meeting about today? What's the focus?
Well, we had a meeting 2 weeks ago, and the sheriff came out, and we were just trying to figure out a collaborative effort between the different police bodies on how they could work together, and of course the commission could fund it. But we didn't have all the players at the table, so today we do. I did hear that the sheriff and the chief met Monday. I emailed the sheriff and I asked him what transpired, or did that actually transpire. So hopefully they hashed out some details together, and today it'll be more of an informative thing. Because, Erin, to be honest with you, the commission really doesn't handle law enforcement. So realistically, the only reason that we got involved was because the constituents were crying out, and rightfully so, that something needs to be done. So we offered up some funding and said, hey, listen, we're not experts. All we can do is get the experts together and say, hey, we're willing to pay if you guys can come up with a plan. So hopefully...
How much, Mario? How much have you got?
Well, how much do we have to spend, or how much was offered on the table?
Both.
Well, realistically, we have an ample amount that we can use, but that's the biggest thing, and I was against it, is I wanted to be clear that the commission's responsibility is not to spend the property taxes that we get on law enforcement, because other entities get property taxes specifically for law enforcement. So my big deal was I want them to be able to do more with what they're getting already. But we're at a crucial time where it may be one of those scenarios where your neighbor has to help you out because you can't do it.
Mario, correct me. Pardon me. Correct me if I'm wrong. But when you a couple of seconds ago you used the term collaborative effort. By collaborative effort, do you mean trying to convince the Shreveport Police that getting help from Caddo Sheriff Department is a good idea?
Absolutely, Robert. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't be convincing. The more of anything, the more guys you have digging a hole, the more soldiers in Iraq. In every scenario, typically, the more people you have willing to help, the solution is going to come about faster. So our big thing was if you don't have the manpower, and I'm not saying they don't, I have no idea as far as a law enforcement expert, but just common sense would say the more people you have helping you accomplish your goal, it's going to get there faster. So let's sit down and say, is this what's available? I actually talked to a police officer about 2 in the morning the other day. I responded to an incident, and I asked him, I was there, it was 2 in the morning, hey, what do you guys need? Do you guys need more people? Do you need more equipment? And he frankly said, actually, I would take more equipment right now. So that's something that maybe not people aren't looking at. So if we have finances to help equip them better, then why not do that as well?
Do you sense that with the meetings behind the meetings, you know what I mean, with all the chatting that goes on behind the big public get-togethers, do you sense that the Shreveport Police Department position is softening a bit?
I do, Robert, and I don't like that it's become so politically or media charged. I would rather it just got solved behind closed doors without all this newspaper and radio coverage of us and what's going on. We were just saying, hey, let's get behind closed doors. Let's offer them some finances to get them going. But now it's turned into something very bigger, and it's been unfortunate that it happened. However, like you just said, that may have said, okay, maybe we need to do something because everybody's looking at us.
So what's going to happen? What's going to happen at the meeting today with all the parties of interest there from both sides? I don't want to say sides because that makes them sound like they're antagonistic from both groups. What's going to happen at the meeting today that has not happened to this point?
I would say all players are going to be at the table. The state troopers, the marshal's office, the police department, the sheriff's department. And this is the first time, to my knowledge, that they will all be there together. And I just said it before, but unfortunately, I wish the media wasn't going to be there because I want them to have candid talks to say, hey, this is what needs to happen. But you know how it is, Robert. People are more restricted on what they want to say. They won't speak freely. If then everybody's watching, and this is something that needs to happen as far as fixing the crime in our city.
Mario, I got this text from Michael Carter a few days ago. And he's the Police Officers Union Association president. And I know you mentioned this when you talked to the officer who said he needed more equipment. Michael texted me this. It is degrading to the men and women of the SPOA to ask the sheriff to come in when the administration will not let us do our job. Is that something that is going to come up at a meeting like this, or is this meeting purely focused on how can we help together? How can we do this together? Or this is not going to be focused on, are you doing your job the right way, correct?
See, I think that's what I was referring to as the media, Erin. If the media is there, nobody wants to chastise anybody and tell them, you're not doing your job right. But some of those talks, if that is the case, if some of the police officers feel that they can't do their job correctly because somebody is holding them back, those conversations need to be had. And unfortunately, the media getting involved, they can't be had.
So you don't sound really optimistic about the get-together today. I'm not speaking too bluntly there, am I?
No, you're not, Robert. At the end of the day, because I think Erin may be right, I've heard that same song before, where a lot of people are saying they can't do their job correctly, and I don't know what that means. Obviously, I'm not a police officer.
Given the public nature of today's meeting, if I'm not reading, what you're kind of saying is, given the public nature, the questions that you have may not get answered today, like what does that mean? Let us do our jobs. The Shreveport Police may be reticent to tell you because of the public nature of the meeting, yes?
You said it, Robert. There's too many times that I see politics involved in not just this, but in many things that come to government where people don't want to hurt people's feelings. But sometimes when you have a problem like crime, there's citizens that their feelings are getting hurt. So it may come to a time when take off the kid gloves and we need to have a frank talk to say, listen, this is really the problem. And sometimes it's easier when the news media isn't around.
Mario Chavez, let me ask you this. How soon could the commission vote come on funding? Could it be at the July 5th meeting?
Absolutely. If we leave long range today with a resolution and we stick it on the agenda tomorrow, next week when we go to session, we can vote on it.